Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget, a week from today, we will be at Dave & Buster's. That's right, we'll be at Dave & Buster's once again for our State of the Union watch party. Looking forward to that. And looking forward to having everybody there. We'll give you the numbers and everything else for Dave & Buster's so you can go and hang out and have a great time. Also, there is more information on that at KIDOTalkRadio.com. I had a chance to post a blog about that, and you can find the details and the phone number there right now at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Joining us now from the Conservative Partnership Institute, Rachel Boulevard. Rachel, good to have you back here at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, who won, who lost in the shutdown that only shuttered government for about 3 days?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that Democrats played this pretty poorly because at the end of the day, they got absolutely nothing for shutting down the government. What was agreed to, the quote unquote, big deal that they struck with McConnell yesterday was basically what McConnell had been offering from the beginning, which is a short-term CR to fund the government and a vote on DACA. These are things that he promised, Jeff Flake months ago. So it's unclear really why they had to shut the government down to get that. But yeah, it's a shutdown really without a gain for Democrats.
Well, it won't be reported by the news media, but could it be that the game that has worked for many, many years, shut down the government, get air cover from the press, didn't work? It's actually, run its course.
I think that could be true, and I also think Democrats didn't quite realize how the rest of the country would respond to them prioritizing illegal immigrants over U.S. citizens. It's a talking point that didn't really resonate across the country the way it might have in progressive circles. So I think they were surprised at the backlash, and I think even, the mainstream media had a tough time defending it, when you're really pushing, lawless illegal immigrants over the protections of U.S. citizens, it's tough to defend.
Well, expanding on that point, we had the emotional outcry from Chuck Todd and others on the Sunday shows about the Dreamers, all about the Dreamers. But, Rachel, as you said right here at KIDO Talk Radio, when you put those folks ahead of American citizens, the argument, doesn't have any validity. However, on the other hand, you have people that continue to push that article.
Well, I think it also belies the notion and the very fact that there's a bipartisan agreement that we do need to address the DACA recipients, right? Like Republicans and Democrats both agree there has to be some kind of legislative fix for these kids who are brought here legally as children. Where they differ is just how far that fix should go. Democrats have made it an issue of amnesty for every illegal immigrant in the country, where Republicans are saying, no, we need to work out this issue, but blanket amnesty is not on the table. And also we need to get some reforms to the immigration system while we're at it so we don't find ourselves back in this position, in 2, 3, or 10 years. And so I really think Democrats tried to conflate the issue of the DACA kids with illegal immigrants generally. And I don't think it really won the day for them.
That's the challenge, though, because, again, we go back to the deals that have been made in the past, and, okay, these folks are going to get citizenship, and it usually turns into double or triple that.
No, I think that's right. And I think that's why, you saw President Trump and a lot of the Republicans say, well, if we give the DACA kids some kind of legal status, then we need an end to chain migration, totally, in exchange. Because that's a huge issue, right? When you give people legal status, they're applicable for chain migration and allows them to bring, double or triple the amount of people, to the U.S. So it really compounds that impact of giving people legal status. But you saw that Republicans try to negotiate with Democrats on that point and get nowhere. I mean, Democrats have really just said amnesty or nothing. And I think that's the talking point they're going to stick with. Unclear if it's going to work for them.
What's the challenge of getting the message out as a Republican in this wave of the press? You take a look at the press, you cover it objectively. How challenging is it to get anything out there? Because even with the shutdown, not a lot of people are reporting that the Democrats back down.
Well, I think there's a twofold challenge when you're covering first the issue itself of, illegal immigration. I think people tend to conflate, opposition to illegal immigration with opposition to immigrants generally, which is untrue. And so, people who oppose illegal immigrants somehow become racist or somehow become, socially unacceptable when that's not the case. And when that happens, you can't actually have a discussion about an issue that does matter, which is illegal immigration. So I think that's a challenge. And then second, with the shutdown, it was difficult, I think, to get the message out there because people fundamentally don't understand how the government works, particularly in the Senate. And this was a challenge, I think, for even some White House reporters you saw in some of the press conferences. They said, well, Republicans control the government. Why can't they just keep it open? This is a Republican shutdown. And what they don't understand is that in the Senate, Democrats can filibuster, and that's what they did. It requires 60 votes to pass a bill in the Senate. Republicans only have 51, and by withholding their votes, Democrats effectively filibustered and shut the government down. And that's just, Democrats played, I think, on the ignorance of the electorate to some extent. And I think that influenced the coverage. Indeed. So what are we going to look at this week? Well, you saw them reopen the government today. Mitch McConnell, the Republican majority leader in the Senate, has promised to vote on DACA in the next 3 weeks. And so I think you're going to see a scramble to try to get something on paper, because the other thing that Democrats were doing during the shutdown were saying, we have a bipartisan compromise. You need to add this immediately. Well, they never actually wrote a bill. So there wasn't a bill to negotiate over. So I think that's what they're going to be trying to do for the next couple of weeks, is to write a bill, and to get some consensus. But it's going to be a difficult thing to do because regardless of what happens in the Senate, Paul Ryan, Republicans have said we are not going to accept anything resembling Senator Durbin and Senator Graham are proposing. So McConnell can bring up in the Senate and it can pass, but it's far from guaranteed that the House will take it up. So I think D.C. is going to be a cluster of negotiating for the next couple of weeks. Well, Rachel, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. You have a great day. Thanks so much for having me. All right. Rachel Bovard joining us from the Conservative Institute. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Yesterday we had our friend Chuck Ambrose on talking about the FBI. Well, the FBI has lost something. Here's our own Catherine Herridge with the details on KIDO Talk Radio.
The Justice Department's internal watchdog, the Inspector General, is now investigating whether the missing texts can be recovered and whether their disappearance was deliberate. Republican Congressman Jim Jordan.
Of course, we need a second special counsel to get to the bottom of to get to the bottom of all this and answer the many questions we have.
The text messages between two FBI officials accused of anti-Trump bias range from December 2016, 1 month after President Trump's election, to May, when the FBI Director James Comey was fired and Special Counsel Robert Mueller took over the Russia case. In Washington, Catherine Herridge, Fox News.
KIDO Talk Radio time is 6:13 with Kevin Miller in the morning. So the government shutdown is over. We'll get your thoughts on that at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But something else that's going on is this FBI investigation. Now congressional Republicans, as Catherine just said, are demanding answers after the FBI says it cannot recover about 5 months of text messages from an agent who was sending anti-Trump messages. Now, he was also having an affair. He was also the guy that rewrote Comey's press statement concerning Hillary Clinton. Now we know that Loretta Lynch knew that Hillary Clinton would not be charged. And we're going after Donald Trump about Russian dealings. Why is it this bigger news? Well, thank goodness we have Sean Hannity on this program, on this station from 3 to 6 weeknights, and then followed up by Lars Larson. Sean is covering the story like no one else. And it's going to take a bulldog, a watchdog, like our friend Sean Hannity, to make this a reality. We still don't have any proof of any collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. What did Donald Trump do to offend the press? He got elected. Donald Trump got elected. Now you take a look at this FBI agent, this other FBI agent, and what they're accused of doing, the anti-Trump messages. Now, if you're in the military, you stay out of politics. That's just how it is. So when we're talking about the FBI, shouldn't that be the same thing, especially if you're conducting investigations? No wonder the Trump campaign didn't go to the FBI. They didn't trust them. And we know this, as we've covered this for years here at KIDO Talk Radio, that we've had the IRS, the NSA, the FBI, and others prosecuting innocent people because of their political beliefs. Now, our great friend Judge Napolitano, just moments ago on Fox and Friends, and remember, when you hear Fox on the radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio, said this about Jeff Sessions.
Has been involved in other cases in which iPhones have been missing. Chris Wray was Governor Chris Christie's lawyer during Bridgegate when they couldn't find the governor's cell phone. Suddenly, after his two underlings were convicted, they found the cell phone. Where was it? In the vault of the law firm representing him. Who was his lawyer? Chris Wray. Nobody wants to go there. If the FBI has a history and a pattern of destroying inconvenient evidence or evidence that points at it, this has to be found. The American public, the President of the United States, have to have confidence that the FBI is neutral politically.
Are they neutral politically? Thank you, Judge Napolitano. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So as others have been talking about, there is a need for a special prosecutor, someone to keep track of Mueller and Comey and others. I mean, we can go over this, and it gets so confusing after a while. You think to yourself, well, what is and what isn't prosecutable? Look, when you have people saying that Donald Trump is this, Donald Trump is that, and then they're in charge of investigating Donald Trump, that's a huge conflict of interest. Isn't it? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
On this vote, the yeas are 266 and the nays are 150. The motion is
the House and the Senate passing the 3-week spending bill that brings an end to the government shutdown.
The shutdown did not need to happen. However brief, it inflicted needless costs on the country.
House Speaker Paul Ryan saying there are no winners in this deal. Senate Democrats agreeing to vote yes after getting a promise from their colleagues across the aisle. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer laying out the terms of that agreement.
We expect that a bipartisan bill on DACA will receive fair consideration and an up or down vote on the floor.
Even if that doesn't sound like much, Democrats did get the money they wanted for the child health insurance program, meaning Republicans will have one less bargaining tool in the event of another shutdown 3 weeks from now. Kevin Rincon, Fox News.
And Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. So the government shutdown is over, and now there'll be a deal on DACA. I don't know if that's the way to go when you're thinking about this. The idea that we're taking a look at this, we're taking a look at legalizing folks because, we feel sorry for them because they were here illegally. I had somebody say, well, this guy spent 30 years in America and now he's being deported. Well, he had 30 years to become legal. There are plenty of good immigration attorneys that will, do the work for you. And you're in this country over 30 years. So if you came to this country at 10, 11, 12, you still have this issue of citizenship that needs to be resolved, right? So that's one topic at 580-5436. The government shutdown, are we going to miss it? Number two, remember our Dave & Buster's State of the Union Watch Party. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com, home of the KIDO Talk Radio app, and much, much more on the situation involving the FBI.
That a pro-Hillary Clinton, anti-Donald Trump bias has intractably infected the FBI, and the United States of America is in jeopardy as a consequence. And Sean, you laid out a great timeline, but there are even more damaging facts to come. I know that's hard to believe, but trust me, around the corner, we're going to be learning even more about how infected this investigation is, particularly the Mueller probe. Just look at this. In August, you had Strzok.
And there we have it from the Sean Hannity show yesterday. Congressman Matt Gaetz saying that it's no longer indisputable that a pro-Clinton, anti-Trump bias infected the FBI. Think about that. Now imagine if that had been George Bush or someone of that nature. Folks, this is what's going on and has been going on for quite some time. And that's why we need a special prosecutor. Now, I'm not a fan of the special prosecutor, just based on the fact of they don't stop till they get something. They don't say, oh, my bad, much ado about nothing. And it's a lot of money that's wasted. It's a lot of money that, could be going to other things. But when we take a look at the idea of Loretta Lynch coordinating with James Comey in the Clinton investigation, we're talking about the highest levels of corruption. We see that with the Obama administration. Yesterday, we disclosed that the state of Idaho has bought the HP campus. That's right, the HP campus. Got a good deal for it, $110 million. And it's all good now. Of course, we couldn't repeal the grocery tax. We couldn't do a lot of things with the legislature. And now all of a sudden, we're going to spend $110 million to buy the HP campus. Of course, some of those buildings are not in the most ideal situations, as we've heard from people that have worked in there. What does the state of Idaho do? We talk about the expansion of government, and here we have $110 million going because government is getting so big, and we're going to consolidate, and we're going to be on Chinden Road. And one thing we didn't mention yesterday is, the traffic situation. Well, Kevin, when there were 7,000 workers at HP, we got through it. Yes, you're right about that. But there were a lot less people in the Treasure Valley. And as we've gone back and forth about this, the idea of managing growth. And I don't know if that should come from government. I don't know if it should come from the cities. But the growth situation continues to be a challenge. You put all those state workers, all those state agencies at the HP campus, and 5 o'clock comes, 9 o'clock comes in the morning, and you're going to have twice or three times the congestion that is there already. And anybody that travels Chinden Road, you know what I'm talking about. And again, the expense is just something that I wish. Look, if the folks in Idaho, if we thought it was a good thing, then great. Remember, this was brought up during the last legislative session. And during the last legislative session, there was such an outrage fostered by this program, by a lot of folks that said, blah, blah, blah. Right? And then when we're taking a look at this situation, at Chinden Road, at everything else, why didn't they have the up or down vote? Because most people didn't want to do it. So somehow, somebody decided to just write the check. Me, I'm uncomfortable with that. And there's a pattern here. When we're talking about this at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, when all of a sudden we want something, we get it. Now, the state of Idaho has a lot of surplus. Governor Otter is saying, hey, let's have $5 million in scholarships. Well, that's amazing. I guess we can pay for that, right? 626 KIDO Talk Radio Time, traffic and weather. And there we have it. Let's see, Jorge Garcia from somebody who just decided to send me a message on Facebook here. Didn't see the whole thing. Here's the rest of the story, and it goes on and on and on about that. But if you're in this country for 30 years, look, go see an immigration attorney. It's you don't have a right to be here. You have to earn that. It's called the law, right?
We want to get a deal before March 5th.
There we have it. Jeff Flake on the deal to end the shutdown. Dick Durbin.
The question now is how we move forward.
There we go. We'll see how that plays out. All right, that's your news from Washington and the state of Idaho. Here's another good one. Are you an adult?
Many millennials live at home with mom and dad far longer than their parents did when they were their age. Now scientists at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, Australia say adulthood should start at 24 years of age. That's because young people are remaining in school longer and putting off marriage and parenthood. The scientists say the definition of adolescence as between the ages of 10 and 19 years is arbitrary and should be reconsidered. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
Going back to that song from Animal House, don't know much about history, don't know much about geography. Who wants to be an adult? Me, I think adulthood should be at the age of 50. But come on, the idea of putting off adulthood until you're 24. And there's two different types of folks in America today. Those that have served in the military, less than 1% of the overall population could serve in the military. And those that have, when you go into the military, and this is why I was such a lousy troop, a lousy soldier, one of the biggest failures of my life, was just not taking direction. And if you talk to Mrs. Miller, I still don't take direction. But you go into the military and you have people, some young, intelligent, beautiful people, that at 18, 19 are navigating ships, are coordinating air traffic control stuff with the most sophisticated software in the world, are flying drones, are on secret missions that we'll never hear about. That's adulthood. Now, for the other folks, and again, it's easy to pick on the millennials, and again, now I've come full circle on this. To be a conservative millennial, to be a social conservative millennial, you're going to grow them in the South, you're going to grow them in the Intermountain West. Everywhere else, that's like even in the Midwest. That is tough because you have people that are more agnostic about social issues, more agnostic about faith. And, it's the easy way out. Let's just all be libertarians. But the millennials today have the toughest road to hoe. And sometimes it takes a while to launch. The idea of saying, well, I'm an adult at 24. I don't know about that. I've had certain things in my life. How many of us have failed when we were young? I know I have considerably. I was very blessed that my mom and dad always took me back in, always gave me the opportunity. If they hadn't allowed me to move back in, this show never would have happened 23 years ago. We always talk about success, but we're the cumulative effects of a success. I don't know if we officially say that adulthood begins at 24 is going to help the process. It's kind of like when we're little kids, we crawl, then we walk, then we run, and then we ride a bike, and then eventually the training wheels come off. Eventually, the training wheels have to come off all of us, right? And again, if they can do it in the military, why can't they do it in the private sector? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit more about HP. Are you down with the state of Idaho spending $110 million for the expansion of state government and the government shutdown? Are you going to miss it? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Our time is 6:31. Good morning, Maggie. And looking forward to a week from today. We will be back at Dave & Buster's. Would love to see you for our State of the Union watch party. The number for RSVPs, 901-3806, 208-901-3806, or you can go to KIDOTalkRadio.com for the details. And coming up, looking at a Facebook page of our great friend, Representative Christy Zito, and this post here that says, Boise bureaucrats want to remove God from the police office oath. Should we let them? And people are voting back and forth. We'll have to take a look at that and see if we can find that story. What's wrong with under God in the oaths? I think I saw something about that. Let's go to Pete in Mountain Home with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin, how you doing?
I am living the dream, sir.
On the purchase of HP by the state?
Yes, sir.
The property tax on that HP used to pay is going to go poof because the state doesn't pay property tax to the city of Boise. And I'm wondering how much the city of Boise is going to have to raise their property taxes to make that up.
Well, that's something that was brought up the last time. What scares me, and Pete, you're right about this, is there was no discussion. Now, we brought this story to the forefront. You talked about it. We talked about it. And it went away. And then quietly in December, when everybody is, Christmas shopping and the like, the state does the deal without any public comment or input.
And, if they needed the space, could they not have done a deal with HP to lease it long term, where HP would still own it and, be responsible for property tax and stuff? But I'm sure HP likes this idea a lot better, where the costs go to the state and HP gets to lease the buildings.
Well, here's the skinny on this. We were speculating that perhaps HP is looking at leaving, the state doing their very best. And again, this is total speculation on our part. And all of a sudden they're going to say, well, what if we buy the property for you? Will you stay then? And maybe that was the deal that was cut.
Yeah, that could be. But I think Mayor Beater is going to have a harder time funding his streetcar.
Well, unfortunately for the city, the folks that live in the city of Boise, and God bless them, they love their city. They're very proud of Boise. And Boise's a wonderful place. I don't know if you heard about this, but what was it? Man versus Food was on last night. We've got several of these reality shows. This is like the new Waco or Austin, Texas, where all these reality shows are being filmed here. And Boise's a wonderful place, but it's overtaxed to pay for the personal projects of the politicians. Yep. And I don't believe that they reflect the values of the people in the city. Lower turnout, and there you go.
And I can't help but believe that that's $110 million, that's a huge chunk of property tax based on that value.
Well, and here's the other thing. Where did we get a vote in this?
Oh, well, our rulers know better, Kevin.
Yeah.
Our wonderful aristocracy in the state house. They know better.
Well, the funny thing about that, and it's funny, Governor Otter was like cutting the budget and such, and really was praised during his stewardship during the recession. And now all of a sudden it's, Katie bar the door. We're going to have $5 million in scholarships. We're going to spend this and spend that, buy this.
And it's amazing how easy it is to be generous with other people's money.
Well, especially when you're on your way out, it seems.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought the people of Boise ought to, brace themselves because their property tax will probably go up to make up for this.
Well, look, they can't afford to buy those parks and everything else that they buy in the city.
Well, there you go. Well, see, this way they're getting some open space courtesy of the state. Well, you take care, Kevin.
Pete, thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Take care.
You too.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Now, I'm still trying to break down this question that I saw on Representative Zito's website, our Facebook, where she's talking about under God possibly being taken out of the oath to be a police officer. And I thought I saw a story on that a while ago, and I didn't get to it. But if you know about that, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We won't speculate too much on that because we don't want to get smacked by you. But surely, what is wrong with having under God when you get sworn into office? I mean, America was based on God. America is so God-friendly. At least we used to be, right? We used to be. And we take a look at our standards that continue to be eroded. Like now, you're in trouble when the Seattle Times is covering a story that Maggie O'Mara brought up that we'll talk a little bit about now. Idaho voters would no longer be required to disclose their gender while registering to vote under a proposal introduced Monday at the State House. Now, here you have it. The Deputy Secretary of State told the House State Affairs Committee that a voter's sex is unnecessary, and we're fearful of potential lawsuits. Other states have faced potential lawsuits over not providing enough options for those who don't identify as female or male. Eliminating the option removes the threat of a legal battle. It's creating problems with society now. We would just like for that to be removed from the voter registration card. So what do we really stand for in this beautiful, lovely, conservative state when we're saying putting whether or not you're male or female might be subject to a lawsuit? Are we really fearful of the lawyers that much? Is that what we've become? We're so scared of the lawyers? You tell me that gender should be removed. Maybe we should do something like Bitcoin or something like that and start creating our own genders. Isn't that what it's become? Tom Munns, TomMunns.com. Munns Tom Twitter with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. Yeah, I was looking at my bottle of CLR yesterday, and on the bottom of it, it said "Women Power, Women Owned," and I thought, wow, we've come a long way when we can stand so boldly and say that we're a gender-owned company, can't we? I mean, can you imagine what the women would do if the males actually wrote men-owned businesses on everything they owned?
Now, look, we just had a women's march, and we're working on equality, brother. So,
well, I'm not.
According to you, we don't need it because we've got women owned. Tom, and I digress a little, but is it time for a man's march? How many men would show up?
I think it is, but I would be reluctant to find any. But there are a few out there.
Are there any men left?
Yeah, I think in Idaho, that's probably where the rest of them are. And you probably have to stay away from the north end. But other than that, I think we'd probably be okay. We've got the manly men with the camos and the guns and all that. It'd be good.
I kind of like that actually. Who's left? The last men standing.
Yeah. Well, I guess pretty soon it's going to be defined by what do you call man and what do you call last? But Anyway, you had a mention about Christy Zito posting something on the page, and so I wanted to comment on that. I think the original post that I saw was before Christy posted it. It was from Priscilla Giddings. And if you guys don't know what's going on in the State House, following her and Christy is a great way to go. I believe it was from the Idaho State Police. Now, of course, they're not in committee yet, so as far as I know, the bills aren't being brought to the floor and in committee yet, so they're going through all the administrative garbage. But I think it was pertaining to Post Academy and the Idaho State Police, and about how they believed there was a call or an ask or a request to be able to remove under God and replace with higher power. Now, it's really important that people understand this. You may or may not believe in God, but the problem is that it doesn't really matter about what you want, because you're operating in that badge and that uniform with your oath to the public trust. And that public trust has to be a solemn oath, and it has to be somebody other than your captain or your major or your colonel or whoever it is, because you need to realize that what you do many times is a matter of life and death. And now that your testimony in court reigns supreme over any evidence, you have to require your oath to be under God, because you need to be responsible for those things that you do. To be able to remove that oath to God really means that there's really no oath at all, which is really what ended up happening when, you can swear on any kind of Bible that you want when you take office and so on and so forth. So that was the ISP from what I know. But, we all know that there's a move to be able to remove God from every part of society. I would really think that we should probably remove the guy that even requested that, or anybody that would sit in office like that and want it removed. I mean, after all, let me ask you, Kevin, or ask the listeners out there, if they're not taking an oath to God, who are they taking an oath to?
Great one. Great point, Tom.
And as for the governor, well, I don't know if you know this, but I've had a lot of people tell me that he used to teach constitutional classes at John Birch Society camps. Did you know that?
No.
So the one thing I was thinking about was, back in the day when everybody realized that Butch Otter was the best that he's ever been, he was involved in the Birch Society. So my question to you guys is, are they really that crazy when we've seen that the governor was probably the best he'd ever been a member of an organization like that, and now truly deviated so far from it that none of his principles align with what he used to believe in? So I just thought I'd throw that out there, that increase in stuff that Wayne Hoffman was talking about with all of the things that they want to do, and coming from Otter, he's truly become a turncoat, and that's really sad to hear. But anyway, most of the stuff that's going on in Boise relates to Agenda 21, and whether people want to believe that's a conspiracy theory or not, Beater has said that he wants to be the most livable city, and those are all.
Well, he's welcoming to the taxes. Tom, I got to run, but thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Your thoughts on the state acquiring the HP campus and whether or not Under God should be under an oath, any oath, when you take an office or you become a law enforcement official or first responder here in the state of Idaho. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Before the Eagles took on the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC Championship Sunday, one fan was placed in handcuffs for a scuffle with Pennsylvania State Police's mounted units at Lincoln Financial Field. Cops say Andrew Tornetta was part of a fight in the parking lot and refused to comply with officers' orders to disperse. Instead, Tornetta took a swing at a police horse, hitting it twice in the right shoulder and then throwing a punch at an officer, an almost carbon copy of an incident the previous weekend after the Eagles defeated the Atlanta Falcons. Tornetta tried to make a run for it, but was eventually caught and arrested for aggravated assault, amongst other charges. Despite rowdy fans before and after the NFC title game, Philadelphia police say only 6 people were arrested. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
KIDO Talk Radio, your home for Fox News on the radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. What type of individual punches a horse? Probably a drunk, inebriated individual, just crazy. Of course, thank goodness we don't live east of the Great River, but couldn't see anybody in Idaho doing that. Hey, my team won, let's go out and punch a horse. By the way, talking about under God in the police oath, should that be required here in Idaho at 580-5436? Plus, buying the HP campus. Does that mean that we all can go and hang out and, I don't know, frolic around? Pro-Life, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, Pro-Life.
Hey, hi. They should have voted on the HP campus, and maybe they're going to. I don't know. I hope that they will this session. Maybe they couldn't, through the summer.
Well, the check's already been written, and I don't think there's a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Well, I know, but they still should vote to back up the check. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, what I want to talk about is, when some person goes to take a job, and they're required to take an oath having God in there.
Well, again, as people have said, what would you swear an oath to? The state?
Well, yeah, I know. Either you have to swear an oath to something, like what? Earthly justice. I guess you could take that. That's kind of a very atheist.
Well, Mother Earth.
But the whole concept of that there's a perfect eternal justice and a great judgment after this world is over.
Now wait a minute. Let's go back to who we could swear an allegiance to. Captain Planet, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah. Your police car, your police dog. I don't know. But anyway, if there is not eternal justice, then nothing means anything. And so a person, say not really believing in God too much because they went through public school, then they get to their oath position at the academy, and so then they think, well, maybe there is a God, so I should do this, but it makes them consider, is there really a God? They don't. I mean, I can't prove there's a God, and somebody else can't prove that there isn't, so then a person has to really consider, do I believe in God? I think that's
okay,
why.
But when you go swear an oath, if you don't believe in God, what's to prevent you from lying?
Well, most people aren't lying. They don't really know.
No, when you take the stand and you could be incriminating somebody, you swear under God. So if you swear under Captain Planet, I don't care if Captain Planet's mad at me.
Well, you should swear under God because there is a God.
Right. So you should have an oath and you pledge your allegiance under God.
I totally agree with that. But see, when little by little you throw God out the door and say you can't talk about God in the public square, you can't talk about God on 580 AM, well, then things start deteriorating really bad. And so we need to bring God back into all of it all the time.
All right. But we want more God, less secularism. 6:55 KIDO Talk Radio, time for traffic and weather. And let's go to Representative Zito joining us now. You got me watching your Facebook feed. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Kevin. How are you this morning?
Not bad. We appreciate you joining us here and, giving us the deal on what the under God thing is going on.
Okay. All right. And I won't be long because I have to be somewhere at 7, but there was the under God issue in Post Academy, but I just wanted to clarify that there was also the issue about identifying your sex on the voter records, and that came in as an RS from the Secretary of State's office. The other situation was during the rule approval process, and that came in from Post Academy.
So the Post Academy, they want to eliminate under God from when people get sworn in?
Well, they had evidently one person who had completed training and did not want to go any farther because I didn't get the details or not whether he believed in God or not, but he didn't feel that it was right for him to swear under God, and so that was what prompted what I guess I want to call it a commission felt like would be the proper thing to do would be to remove it. And my position, Kevin, is I have friends who believe in God, I have friends who don't believe in God, and I'm not here to judge that. What I am here for is to uphold the Constitution of our state and our country. That was what my oath of office was, to do no harm. I lost my train of thought because I'm thinking 6 different things here today. But I think it's important that as we go through this, that we protect those who believe in God as well as those who don't. And when we sent this back to Post, and of course it didn't make it to it was voted down in the Senate. When we sent this back to Post, it was with the idea that there would be possibly an alternative to look at so that those who believed in God could swear their oath under God, and those who really had an issue with it, they could come up with a different language. That's all I really wanted to say, is to clarify that there were the two issues that came before us, not just one.
We appreciate you squeezing us in early in the morning. You're always welcome to come on, ma'am. We thank you for your work.
Oh, Kevin, I appreciate what you do so much. I really, really appreciate that, you give us a voice, that you allow us to, visit with the people in our state. And at the same time, I listen to your station because then I hear what would be on the mind of people of our state. For me, as my job as representative, I think that's one of the most important things that I can do, is to listen to the people of the state. And that's why, like, the meme that I put up on Facebook yesterday.
Well, it got my attention. We've got to run, but thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Appreciate Representative Christy Zito joining us here. Good morning.